Okay, so I'm 10 years late on this. Let's play some music from the game we're going to be talking about. We're going to be talking about Golden Sun, but I'm mostly going to be talking about the Lost Age because it's the better part of the game, and because maybe my homie will stop playing Thomas the Tank Engine on the Amiga CDI 32 or whatever the crap for his retro achievement bullcrap, and he'll play a game that's actually good like Golden Sun the Lost Age. Anyway, let's talk about it. Okay, so Golden Sun, made by Camelot. If you don't know, Camelot is one of the greatest, medieval fantasy RPG game makers of all time. Unfortunately, they can only make Mario Tennis games now for Nintendo, which really sucks for them. And that's why we'll never get a fourth Golden Sun game to conclude the story. Thanks, Nintendo. Anyway, look, I'm glad Camelot has work. Good for them. But I would fight an army of cocaine hippopotami for a fourth Golden Sun game, and I'd win too, so that I could play it. You'd have no idea how bad I want that. So, what is Golden Sun? Why is it so dope? Okay. One of the things you got to understand about Camelot is that they never actually just made like a Final Fantasy or Dragon Quest styled RPG. They never actually just did that. They always found interesting ways to adapt the RPG formulas into a different style of game. One of their first big hit, Shining in the Darkness, is a little bit of a first-person wizardry style dungeon crawler. And it's dope. And then, then they made Shining Force, one of the greatest game series and franchises of all time. But eventually, they just we're going to just walk around on the world map, get into random battles, fight bosses for progression flags, and get to the end of the game. Just a typical RPG. We're finally going to actually just do one of those for a change. And they were doing it on the Game Boy Advance. And they'd never really they had some Shining Force games on Sega Game Gear. But traditionally a console developer. And around that point in time, developing games for CD-based consoles, storage limitations and constraints are not an issue. A tiny little Game Boy Advance cartridge, storage space becomes an issue. In the middle of development, they realize, hey, this game's not going to fit on a single cart. It's way too big. We're going to have to cut it in half. Honestly, kind of the exact same thing that happened to Lufia and the Fortress of Doom and Lufia 2, Rise of the Sinistrals. Originally envisioned as one single giant narrative and experience, it was cut into two separate games. Gameplay-wise, there's not really a lot of differences between the two games, because The Lost Age isn't really a sequel. It's not Golden Sun 2. It's Book 2 of the same original story. And, there's not like a bunch of gameplay advancements or anything like that. It just deepens the mechanics that are already there. And the way it does it is probably one of my absolute favorite gameplay things in any game of all time is the Jin system, or the Jinny system, or the Djinni system, however you want to pronounce it. D-J-I-N-N. If you pluralize it, there's an I at the end for Jinny. Your party has 4 elemental adepts. Earth is your main character. You got a fire buddy, and then you pick up a wind adept and a water adept along the way. And that's the way you change your character classes and your jobs and your roles is by the Jin that you equip. For example, every character has a default base job, and you advance along that by equipping them with Jin of their own element. For example, the main character, the Earth Adept, he starts as a squire. You equip a bunch of Earth Jin on him, and he'll continue to advance in ranks from a squire to a knight, to a gallant, to a paladin, to, a champion, and then finally a lord. That's just the default path, you know. And this is what I love about the game is that you don't have to min-max things, right? You don't have to use certain setups. It's actually just how do you want to design this? And whatever you design will work. So design it in a way that's fun and enjoyable and interesting to you because you're really not limited in that regard. Hell, you can play through the whole game with absolutely none of them ever equipped and never use them if you really wanted to have a challenge run. Just, it's entirely up to you. The thing I will say is probably the only downside thing I could say about Golden Sun is that 95% of the combat really isn't that hard. The super bosses are incredibly hard. God, Dullahan makes me want to just rip all the hair out of my entire body, and I mean all of it, because it would be less painful than having to fight that dickhead again. Anyway. Then you start doing cool stuff, right? Like, on the Earth Adept, if you give him a bunch of fire and wind Jinny, then he starts going down like the Eastern warrior path, and that's how you become like a samurai and a ninja, and you know, all that cool stuff. And like, for real, you can do whatever you want. And if you equip like the opposite element on someone, for example, if you equip a bunch of fire Jin on the water adept, and stop, you better stop playing ads while I'm listening to music. I said stop playing ads while I'm listening to music. We're listening to Golden Sun right now. Anyway, if you put fire Jin like on the water adept is like your white mage, right? It's your healer, your buffer type character by default. But if you switch her over, well, her, Mia, I don't count Piers because Piers sucks and I hate him and I don't think about him. Mia's the good water adept. You know, you could turn her into like a debuffer who attacks and dispels and has damage abilities, because maybe you decide, well, what if I don't want or need a healer in my party? What if I just want to brute force my way through random battles and just have some extra DPS there? Do that then. There's nothing stopping you from doing that. You're not relegated to having, oh, I have to have this healer who can hit things with a stick and do 5 damage, and other than that, she's useless. No. Do whatever you want. The other cool thing about the Jin is that you kind of collect them like Pokemon, and you can command them to use their special abilities in battles for free. It costs no MP, it costs no resource. The offset is that when you unleash a Jin and use their special ability, whether that's a hit that ignores defense, a force crit, something that debuffs an enemy's magical attack, their physical attack, it confers a massive speed agility bonus on your party, restores the MP of your entire party. That's free, by the way. It's not as amazing as it sounds. It's good. But another awesome thing about Golden Sun is that it's not like every other RPG where your mages become useless after they run out of MP. It's very hard to run out. Well, it's PP. You know, I don't like saying that. I'm calling it magic points. It's psychic points, though, but I'm not saying PP more than I need to. You recover that by walking around. Why no other game? Well, there are some, but why? I guess why it's not an industry standard that my mage doesn't recover their mana by walking around when it's their entire lifeblood of functionality. Let them use their freaking mana. Well, you'll never have that problem in this game, because you can just walk around, get into random battles, spam some regular attacks, walk around a little more. Oh, look, you got your mana back. Again, this game isn't really that hard. It's just enthralling. The music is freaking amazing. The characters are awesome. Well, Kraden talks too freaking much, but that's beside the point. There's actually just room for so much self-expression with the Jin system. And let me get back to that. Like, you unleash a Jin, and then you get like a little elemental token in the top left corner of your battlefield HUD. And that is your summoning resource meter. Your Jin will stay unleashed, meaning their powers are not connected to you at the moment, which means that you can potentially downgrade a class. Your stats can go down, you can lose abilities. It's temporary, though, so it's not the end of the world. And there's all kinds of awesome ways you can set this up, where it's like, okay, I have every character has got like at least one water djinn on them, for example, right? And then you open up a fight with like, okay, everyone gets a little MP recovery, everyone gets a little HP recovery. I'm gonna put up a barrier, and then I'm gonna use this other djinn to like do some water damage attack or whatever. Now we have 4 ticks of water energy hovering up there in the top left corner of the screen. This is like one of the biggest things you can do in the game, honestly, is summons, because you can actually use them for attack or defense. Whenever you use a summon, it's going to consume all that energy up there, and all the djinn whose abilities you've used, they go on a cooldown phase before they're actually equipped on your characters, giving stats and changing roles again. But, the summons, they're also powerful as hell, and they hit the whole battlefield. And again, like I said, you don't need the djinn. You can actually just, like, unset them in the menu outside of a battle, so that when you get into a battle, you have a full repertoire of all those elemental energy to just say, hey, guess what? I'm going to use 2 level 3 summons and just end this battle immediately. You could clear the whole game that way. You don't even have to fight. You can go through most of the game without even buying equipment. You can just spam summons the whole time. It doesn't matter. Just play the game and have fun. This game is not here to make you feel better about yourself for achieving some type of ridiculous challenge, Again, the super bosses, if you can beat those, you should feel good about that. But the main game itself, it's just there for you to enjoy the freaking adventure, And where this game truly excels in the adventure aspect is the Zelda-style puzzle solving that you do in the dungeons. But you're not like using bombs, arrows, hook shot, power glove, lift things up. Nothing like that. No. Instead, you're using your psi energy, or your synergy, however you want to pronounce that. For example, you can use the growth synergy on a little growing sproutling up against a wall to make it grow into a vine that you can climb up. Puddles of water, you can freeze them, and they froth up into ice pillars as platforms for you to jump across. All kinds of things like that, and a lot of the synergies that you need access to solve some of these puzzles actually come from changing your character classes and setting your djinn correctly. So there might be some times where it's like, yo, I need this ability to progress. So maybe it's a little cumbersome to switch djinn around to get an ability you need to progress, but it takes 10 seconds. Is it kind of annoying? Yeah. Is it going to ruin your life? I sure hope not. So that's like the main way you play the game and all that. But there's also the equipment. There's not actually equipment slots. And each character, I think you can basically equip like up to like 15 things almost. A weapon, a helmet, a body armor, a shield, hand equipment, foot equipment, 5 different freaking rings or whatever. You can equip so many freaking things in this game, honestly. And the depth and variety of equipment, particularly in the Lost Age, like when you're throwing those golden tokens in the fountain to try and win a prize by landing on the bullseye. Oh man. Honestly, some of the coolest gear in any game I've ever played is in the Lost Age. It's just, every time I play through it, I find a new set of synergistic builds to complement each other to, go after those super bosses, because I hate them and I want to destroy them. But, man, the reason the Lost Age is so good isn't just that it adds a little bit of depth to what was already in the first game. It's literally also the entire first game, basically. In the first game, you play as Isaac and his party, trying to stop Felix and his the homies from the north. They're trying to light all the elemental lighthouses. In the first game, they succeed at lighting 2 of the elemental lighthouses, and it's like, damn, we're not very good at this hero thing. It's literally the only thing we're supposed to do, and we couldn't do it, and the heroes fail in the first half of the game. The second half, you play as Felix. You play as the guy who's been your antagonist in the first half of the game and what his party's going through. And then you start seeing things from their perspectives. And along the way, you kind of start to realize, this actually isn't a game about black and white. This isn't a game about good versus evil. This is a game about people trying to survive and doing what they think is right. It's pretty gray in that area, matter of fact. And I think that's what makes it interesting. Because, frankly, a lot of things in life are not good versus evil. And when we overinflate them into being that, it's very easy to not see the other person as a human being or understand what their purposes or motivations are. That's why I think this game's narrative is so good. Once you get to the third lighthouse, that is unequivocally the point where anyone who plays the game will agree this is one of the coolest things I've ever played in my life. That is the point when Isaac's party teams up with Felix's party. In the first game, you had 4 party members. In the second game, for the first half of the second game, you have 4 party members. Now you have 8 party members. You can switch them out, do whatever you want with them. In any capacity, whatever you want. And this game notoriously and very famously has the horrible password link. God help you if you have to use a gold password. That thing's an entire cryptographic blockchain password. It's the most ridiculous thing you've ever seen in your life. I'm not kidding. I think that's why a lot of people, maybe it's easier just to go buy another used Game Boy Advance and hook the 2 games together to just transfer your data over to the Lost Age. If you can't do that, I'm not kidding. God help you if you have to enter one of those gold passwords. It will take you 40 minutes. You think I'm kidding. I'm not. It takes that long to enter a freaking password. But it lets you transfer over everything from the first game. It means every single piece of equipment that everyone had, all the money they had, and most importantly, all the gin you collected from the first game. Because they're not available in the Lost Age. They're only available in that first game. If you want to collect every single gin, you gotta catch them all like they're the frickin' Pokemans. And you want to get into Crossbone Island, the hidden secret dungeon that requires every single gin from both games to get access to, you're going to end up using that gold password. But man, it's so worth it, man. I'm serious. There is so few games that actually, when you're done with it and the credits are playing, you just think, damn, that was a true adventure. You know, I'm getting a little goosebumpy in my arms right now just thinking about it. Excuse me. I have a spittoon here. I know that grosses some of you out. I don't care. Eat my ass. Like, because you have access to all the gin from the previous game, then you can start doing some truly crazy job combinations here. Because now you're not limited to, oh, I only have the 9 water gin from this game. That's all I'm going to get. No, you have every gin. I'm serious. The things you're able to do when you have every gin at your disposal is some of the most mechanically broken crap you'll ever experience in an RPG. And it is so freaking fun to just walk around like a party of newly minted fresh gods destroying everything. It's brilliant. But the number one thing I always think of when I think of the Lost Age is when you finally get the ship. And oh man, dude, the ship in this game is honestly one of the best things ever, in my opinion, because the boat is also your airship. And the way the boat flies is that your entire party member, all your party members, converge around the black orb, which is a conduit. It's the main conduit that connects a person's ability to project their psychic energy out. And the black orb is able to translate that into energy catalyst to make the ship function. When everyone focuses all their energy on the ship, they're able to use its metal wings to flap and fly. And it actually sucks the MP out of your party to do this. So, be aware of that. It actually does consume your mana to everyone focus on levitating the ship together, right? And just like thematically, that's so freaking badass. That's seriously one of the coolest airships of all time. I don't care what anyone says. It freaking owns. And there's all kinds of like scenario links, like, did you do this in the first game? Well, this person in the second game remembers you, and now they're going to pay you back with some cool items. Things like that. Friggin'. Anyway, you go through the whole thing. You get the boat. You get the cannon on your boat. You find the ancient exploding fireball so that you can shoot it at the ice wall so that you can get access to Prost, right? Or Prot, whatever the frick the place is called. I don't remember right now. It's not important, and I don't care. It's the frozen wasteland that the blue-skinned people who apparently brainwashed Felix and turned him into a bad guy, right? All that. By the time you get to the end and you come back to that frozen north, the second you start going north, you might start to think, that's kind of weird. There's a transdimensional vortex of hellacious, world-ending, matter-destroying chaos that the world seems to be falling down into. And the further north you go, these voids crackling and exploding with purple electrical energy become a little more prominent. And so you come all the way to the north and you see a massive void pit of infinite infernal hell spreading out before you. And it's kind of like, it's about to engulf the Mars lighthouse, and the Mars lighthouse is going to fall. And then none of these lighthouses will ever be able to be fully lit. It's the last one that needs to be lit. And if we don't do it now, that lighthouse isn't going to freaking be there in a couple hours at this point. It's bad. And that lighthouse is just the beginning. This thing is spreading. It's going to cover the entire world soon. So you were kind of an ignorant little kid at first, thinking you're going up against the bad guys who are going to destroy the world. Bro, the world is already ending. They're actually trying to stop it from ending, and you were getting in their way. Whoa, what a freaking twist. Like, honestly, it is a very powerful commentary about not assuming you know what a person's intentions are. It's pretty damn good, man. And also, the Doom Dragon fight. Bro. Okay, I'm in a Golden Sun playlist right now. Let's see if we can find the Doom Dragon track in here. I hope it comes up. If it doesn't, it's okay. But seriously, that is one of my absolute all-time favorite final bosses. Not just in an RPG, but in any game ever. I'm not even playing, dude. It's freaking top tier. It's, it has 3 heads. And every time it gets its turn, each head takes an action. So, when you're first starting out, the beginning of this fight is actually the hardest part of it. Because this thing does not play around. It's not called the Doom Dragon for show, alright? This effing thing, man, it is one of... I know I've been using this phrasing a lot, but there's a good reason for it. It's because Golden Sun is top tier. One of the coolest final boss attacks of all time. Tit for tat. It's cooler than Supernova. Think back to the first time you saw Sephiroth use Supernova in Final Fantasy VII. Ruinous Omen is way cooler. Just on its own at face value. But on a technical level, How in the hell did they make the Game Boy Advance do any of that? That blows my mind. Every time I see it, I look at it and I'm like, bro, this looks like something that like the Sega Saturn would be doing. How did the Game Boy Advance even do this? It's freaking nuts. And Ruinous Omen is just one of those attacks that just doesn't care how much you've level grinded, doesn't care how powerful you are, doesn't care what your stats is. This thing is probably going to wipe your party or leave one or two of them left alive with single-digit HP. It's going to F you, dude. Good thing you have another full set of party members who can take over so that you can res them in the back line and reorganize your party, because you're going to be doing it the whole frickin' fight. You know what this Doom Dragon does that makes it a real SOB? It resets all of your Jin. Puts them all on standby and they all have to cool down. It pops that thing off. You're waiting about 6 to 7 turns to get your class and your rolls back up. And until then, you're a base class with no abilities or stats. It sucks. And it's also awesome. It's just so savage and brutal. It truly feels like a final boss is supposed to feel like. Dire and almost impossible. But then you finally do enough damage and the game kind of stops and all this energy starts accumulating around one of the dragon's heads and you think, oh man, what is it doing now? And then one of its heads freaking explodes! Now it's only got 2 heads left. It only gets 2 actions per turn. And then you slowly whittle it down and that feeling of heroic accomplishment starts bubbling up inside of you. I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna beat this thing. You couldn't stop me. Nothing can stop me. I am the force of this world, and nothing can tell me what to do anymore. Not even the apocalyptic dragon that ends all things can stand in my way. Let's go, you mother... Anyway. Everything about the game kicks ass. Music owns, graphic owns, gameplay owns. All the gear and equipment into Jinny gives one of the greatest levels of player self-expression I've ever seen in any game, period. And I can't speak of it more highly. Oh, I did forget about one thing. I'm a loser for forgetting it. And it's arguably one of the best parts of this game. You know, one of the things that sucks about a lot of JRPGs is when it's just, press the attack command and you just attack. You know. You don't do that in Golden Sun. You equip super cool relic weapons that have special abilities in them that, you know, like 1 in 4, 1 in 6 chance when you use the regular attack command. This weapon is going to unleash a howl and it's going to do a special ability. And that's actually one of the biggest aspects of your character and your build designs is which weapon are you going to use, because it's not all just a bunch of linear progression. It's like, do you want to have this thing that does a fire attack that lowers an enemy's defense? There's weapons for your mages to equip that can silence enemies or steal their MP when you use a regular attack. There's a lot of options. In fact, I dare say if you were to truly let me just like napkin math in my head real quick. With all of the things available to you and 8 party members with which to do it with, I know it's one of those, you know, Chinese, you know, 600 million and one game console things, but realistically, there actually probably is about over 27 million different party composition structures and builds that you can make with this game. It's basically limitless. It's just whatever you want to do. It's just the best, dude. It's just the freaking best. So, there you go. If you have any interest in JRPGs and you have not played Golden Sun and Golden Sun: The Lost Age, you are doing yourself one of the greatest disservices that you could possibly do in your entire life. You have no idea what you're missing. 99 out of 100 double S rank plus. Golden Sun owns. One of my favorite things in the entire world. And I hope that you'll play it. Check it out. Hope you'll love it as much as I do. Thanks for listening. Appreciate y'all's time. God bless. Later.